welcome back everybody to session 2 on emerging technologies and industry presentations. Uh, the chairman of this session, Major General V.M. Chandran from Headquarters RTRAC Shimla, is going to join us shortly. And while he's connecting, I will first introduce Mr. Ravi Kiran from ADS Technologies. ADS Technologies is a software company which is very much into all kinds of simulation. And Ravi Kiran is going to speak on commercially off-the-shelf simulation software, which he will explain to everybody how it is suitable for the armed forces, particularly because it is designed for use by the armed forces. So can I request Mr. Ravi Kiran to please make his presentation.
Thank you, Major General Ravi Arora. Thank you. Thank you, Major General Ravi Arora, and for giving us this opportunity to participate in this seminar on the military simulation and training applications. And today, in the next 15 minutes, I'm going to give a very brief about our organization and what we are doing and how we are transforming our vision into customer experience in the area of military simulation and training, which we call it internally at ADS Technologies as a visual simulation. And it's a very passionate business at ADS Technologies and what we have been doing for the past few decades. I'll just take a few seconds to explain about EDS. EDS Technologies, we are about 26-year-old organization with 9 locations across the country and with 150 plus associates and more than 1,500 customers spread across the length and breadth of the Indian peninsula. And EDS Technologies, we have various businesses and right from PLM to Industry 4.0 to e-learning, what we are currently doing it to 3D printing, additive manufacturing technologies. But out of which one of the key business division and business what we do at EDS Technologies is our visual simulation business, which is the main military simulation and training applications what we address in the Indian market. For that, we have a partnership with various global leaders in this segment, in this industry across the globe, like Mr. Khanna Kuber was talking about one of the organizations like Mark Technologies, who are the leaders in this particular area. So we are the partners with them to provide the latest technologies to the Indian customers. So what we do in this particular business, we as an organization deliver the comprehensive COTS software solutions and services that enable customers build and populate 3D simulated environments. For the past 2.5 decades, we have been working very passionately.
After he completes, then sir can take over. I said that mediate.
Sorry, someone had a question?
Sorry, I think one of the panelists had his mic on. I put it off.
Okay, sir. No. So, mentioned for the past 2.5 decades, we as an organization we're working very passionately with many government, defense, private industry to see that they are adopting the COTS, what we call it as a code off-the-shelf, ready-made, available software solutions. They adopt them and develop small and large turnkey simulators in the country so that we as a country are self-sustained or develop the whole competency inside the country. We have quite a bit of success stories in that area, and to say that it's starting. I think Mr. Sunil Srivastava was talking about this industry in the earlier session. He was mentioning about the industry is very little small and it is very long taking and it has its own challenges. But here at EDS, we are very proud to say that we have been associated with nearly 100 customers across the India for the past 2.5 decades, offering our COTS solutions to build simulators. There are many organizations. I just mentioned about few, and like in Indian Army, we have been associated with SDD right from. It's a nostalgic moments for us. It's when SDD was in a small entity inside MCME, then it became a separate entity, and we have been working with quite a bit of. Earlier, we had worked in quite a bit of projects there. Same with Indian Air Force, and whether it's an SDI or Air Force bases, some of the bases where we have been working, or the DRDO labs. I felt very proud today when Air Marshal Tiwari was mentioning about the recent inauguration of the Tejas simulator, and so there are customers. We have been working with them in various applications. Similarly, with other PSUs or the private industry, for the past 2.5 decades, we have been consistently working, because it's a very small market. It needs a lot of perseverance and patience to work in this segment, and we have been there for in this whole ups and downs of the industry, and we are happy with what we are seeing today, the progress of the whole industry, what it was a few decade back and 2 decades back. If you see the progress. So, as I said, that we have been very proud of our association with various organizations and the various programs, like mentioned about various aircraft training systems, like for Tejas or Netra or Hawk projects, or for small arm training simulators, or the low-cost simulators, which we have worked with some of the organizations, whether it even volumely, even motor simulators or drones or forward observed simulators, so L70s. Or the recent, we have been associated with ISECS project with Air Force and BEL, to the some of the classified projects with Air Force and other agencies, and very specific, whether it's in synthetic scene or and sensor simulation or virtual map simulators with some of the PSUs, so integrated radar tower system with that air traffic control projects. So we have been very proud to say that here, that as an organization for the past 2 decades, we have been associated with various organizations for various projects. But so what exactly we are offering here? It's like some might be having the question. It's like yes, that is what I'm going to cover in very brief, quickly in the next 10 minutes, whatever time I have. See, this is typically what you're seeing on the screen now is a typical mission simulation setup. What it's going to be there, whether it's you are talking about the sensor simulation or debrief or playback station systems, or the main core visual database generation to see that everything, the realism you're getting it. So if you look into these are the various components of these subsystems or subsystems of that. Now, and all are interlinked with currently everything is, we are talking about C4I2 or net-centric warfare systems. So it's all governed and with the protocols of HLA or DIS. So all are connected, interoperability has to be maintained. So these are various systems. And if you look into the systems here, subsystem go into each of the areas, whether it's a scenario generator or virtual simulators. So with our COTS solutions, like for terrain generation, content, CGF, HMIS and all, we're very in-depth working and providing solutions, whether it take the simulation for various platforms or weapons, or for artificial intelligence, whatever behavioral patterns, which we are assisting in some of the projects and programs, to the network interoperability, to the most important really currently it's working upon is on the sensors with a few of the organizations in up to neck deep into it, or the age-old, the very challenging area of environmental or the content creation. So visual database, that's what some of the program, what earlier Colonel Kuber was mentioning about some of the couple of simulators, which full mission simulators, which Air Force has ordered for it, or it's been currently being worked out by the in the tendering phase. So we have been working in various areas in all these subsystems to into the lower level, high level to low level areas. These are the various areas what we are working. Now, if you go into next is like what exactly is the solution, because some of these like Mr. Amit Sood spoke about the what is simulator and what it is and how it's going to be impacted, how it's the evolution of it, what is spoken in the earlier session. So first, basic fundamentals, the starting point of some of any simulator, if you look into it, is as the content, or you call it one is the content, the other one is in the terrain generation. The terrain is one of the key important area what it is there. Now, in this terrain, if you look into it, we have the one of the most comprehensive tool called TerraVista, which is a terrain modeling software tool that has all the essential features required for the development of the most sophisticated terrain databases. More importantly, what TerraVista will help all the users is to build the large terrain databases very efficiently and extremely fast. This is very critical because it's like today we are talking about some of the places 400 kilometers and 100 banded or the point focus terrains when we are looking into it. So it's very important to see how fast we are generating it and how we are changing it. And TerraVista is one of the tool which is worldwide also. If you look into it, it is the one of the tool which has the highest import and export capabilities than any other terrain generation tools available in the market today. And we support all the SAF and CGF formats. To take about the one SAF, a JSAF, a CTB, or anything. We support all kinds of SAF and CGF formats. Furthermore, for the next generation kids or the users, what they are talking about today, evolving team, today is they talk about a lot of gaming engine influenced with the gaming, and they kind of want to get into that way. So TerraVista can, if you generate terrain using TerraVista, you can even publish these generated terrains to the gaming industry standards called FBX formats, providing the game engine interoperability too. So this is how TerraVista is going to help. Very comprehensive tool which is being used widely by our armed forces, you can say that, or the labs, the research labs in various developing various simulator programs. Next, if you look into it, is we call it as the content creation tools. This is one of the important tools to bring in the whole realism or the model accuracy, the look, feel of it when you are modeling some kind of tank or the what you're seeing it any kind of buildings, or whether you want to army wants to work in anti-terrorist activities. Well, you need to create the kind of environment, the models needs to be created, and the creator is the most comprehensive toolkit for this particular applications. This toolkit creator is created specifically for simulation applications. Where recently one of the what is the wing commander in one of the place was telling, sir, ये तो बहुत दिन से देख रहे हैं हम लोग, बहुत सारे हैं, बहुत दिन से है, पर बहुत अच्छा है. Yes, because it's very old, we agree to that, but it is an industry standard software globally used for the creation of optimized models, and it becomes much more advantageous to all the users if you are enhancing the objects developed by using this tool into a sensor capable simulations. It's very easy, and it gives a lot of flexibility to all the users when you are want to get into use the same models for the sensor capable simulations. And also, and the great advantage is you get multiple levels of LOD, and it's you can export a wide variety of formats. These are some of the features which have been available for donkey years, and it still be very, very useful even today in any kind of application. So, if you see that any kind of simulation content is very important. The look and feel, which we call about it, is very important of that. And yes, you can achieve that by using Creator for modeling any kind of simulation content. Once you have the terrain, you have some contents, models and all, what you require, anyone to do that is you want to have a visualization of it. You want to visualize it, and you want basically, in other words, if you want to look into high level serious simulators, if you want to look into full mission simulators, you call it as an IG, image generators and that. So VR Vantage is one of the most comprehensive IG visualization toolkits which we offer to all the users in the country. And this is the uniqueness of this IG is that the users can view the virtual world in both 2D and 3D. And it is a very realistic, and what you need for simulation, for awareness, simulation debugging, or even the action review, VR Vantage provides the most data about the network virtual world. And it presents a very, very easily accessible way. And it brings the most realism in manner onto it. Because in the area of simulators, what we call it as is what's real is what it matters. So we have to, all the users, everyone, try to make it as much as real as possible. And for that, image generation applications, visualization, Vantage is a great tool. It's a great flexibility it gives. And any kind of big picture you want to achieve, this is the toolkit what will help the users. And for armed forces, army and other police or forces, if you want to look into it, right from you have the flexibility to view from the entity level to the aggregates, and also get the trajectories, sensors, as well as the exaggerated reality view for enhanced simulation awareness, what we call. So this will give a very great flexibility and user-friendly behavior for the users. So Vantage is the one for this particular application, and it gives a great realism for it. And will, as a company, as an users of it, will love this product. And I'm sure quite a few of our customers who are using it, they really like it. And some of the recent programs like IAEA, CCS and others are using this particular features and toolkits for the development of the current solution systems. Now you have the visualization, you can do it, you have the content, the terrain, you have it, then what? Then the most important thing is to create the scenarios. You need to create the game. You need to create the computer generated forces platform. You need to have it to create the synthetic environment with urban, you say that, or battlefield, maritime, air and space activities, anything. So VR Forces is a powerful and most flexible computer generated forces platform to fill your synthetic environments. Whether you need a the threat generated for training and mission rehearsals, or a synthetic environment for experimentation, or to stimulate C4I systems or aggregate simulations. So VR Forces gives a very, very unique features there for all the users, and you can go up to the various kind of application you can build upon this, like for example tactical command staff training applications, or just a simple concept exploration and validation kind of stuff, or an air traffic management, or a human behavior studies, or latest UAV simulations, or anything. If you want to do it, you can achieve it. It's very flexible tool, and many multi-domain applications or scenarios you can generate it with VR Forces, and it's a very unique tool. And yes, today wherever it's being used, some of the POCs like HAL or ECIL or BEL or others, they're very happy with this, and they're able to do some good simulation systems today. Now, the next area what we've spoken about earlier, the next interesting part of the whole technology-wise, what everyone is looking at today is to get into the radar sensors simulation, IR and radar simulation. Here, we offer the one of the most sophisticated physics-based simulation toolkit, which have been more or standardized quite a few organizations across the globe, like Raytheon talk about it, or CAE, or anyone. This is called an Ondulus IR and radar toolkits, and it's sensors are fully validated with simulated results. So that gives a great confidence to the customers, and when it's getting deployed. And not just that, it's an open standards. So it is not tied up with any particular IG or any development toolkit. It is an IG agnostic, so it can be used with any kind of IG or visualization tool today which is being used. So you can incorporate the your sensor features and with great flexibility by using the Ondulus sensors. In that, this is about the IR part of it. Then if you go into the radar, there are about wide variety of the radar modes, what you offer it, whether you call it as SAR, ISAR, DBS, and whether it's an RBGM. So anyway, you have the 8 radar modes, very detailedly developed and offering various features. And quite a few of the solutions today, if any one of the users want to have it, earlier it used to be an ITAR controlled or controlled product, but today this product are not ITAR controlled. So it is available for all the customers. They can use it for their own classified or non-classified projects. You can use this solution. Next is an area in the simulation is on the symbology, the instrumentation panels to the DEVO avionics part of it. We offer a solution called VAPS XT, which is both for the simulation area as well as for the embedded avionics. Right, it goes up to the DEVO 178 level 8, level B, C levels. Whatever you want to use that, it is available. All the certifiable kits are available for that. So quite a few yes, Air Force is using it today, and a few of the DRDO labs are also incorporating it for some of the cockpit graphics and other simulation applications. Next is these are all the COTS tools what I've been mentioning about it. Now there is another one which we are talking about is into the multi-role virtual simulators. These are already, everything is developed, and if you want to try and various features, if you want to do it in, and as in a start of some applications and some concepts you wanted to do it, this is we have a solution called VR Engage. It helps the users to play the first-person human character, whether you are in a vehicle driver or a gunner or a commander or a pilot of an aircraft or any, it does not matter. You have an built-in features already built into the toolkit, where you can just use that and create your applications in very fast, and you can achieve the what you wanted to achieve very quickly. No need to go and develop some of the things. This is the first level. You can develop quite a bit of applications, and it has quite a bit of high fidelity ownership dynamics are there, both for wheeled or non-wheeled or the tracked vehicles, and for fixed wing or rotary wing aircraft are available. The programs are inbuilt into the whole solution. So, and no need to build the whole instrumentations and all. You can start working with the player controls using just a mouse or a keyboard or just a gamepad. You can start working on that. So everything is inbuilt into it, and it's packaged very well. To see that, including the human characters of called DI guy. It's a most widely used human behavior characters, physics-based characters which are being used worldwide. It is DI guy, it's called, and DI guy characters are there. So it's an so we are engaged in multi-role virtual simulators which we are offering to the customers for their quick start applications, and all are built in again and built in with interoperability of DIS and HLA protocols, so that you can have all the push to talk, your intercom voice communications and other things. You can simulate it and you can try it out on that. Next was some of the earlier panelists spoke about the VR AR. Yes, you can straight away plug and play with the VR peripherals, so you can get the VR virtual reality experience too into this VR Engage solution. And Last application which I would like to mention is on that was all the virtual part of it. Virtual software toolkits was earlier COTS tools, then it was in virtual application, virtual simulators. Now this is a full-fledged UAV simulator which is there. It is actually developed by Presagis, a CA group company based out of Canada, and they are our partners. And this is a customizable UAV simulator which you can use it for any kind of research and development, or trying out various kind of UAVs what you wanted to develop. So it comes with quite a bit of development platform, vehicle dynamics, and built-in visual virtual environment simulation databases. So it's a full packaged open architecture customizable UAV training system, which is predominantly used for training, research, and new product development. If you want to do something onto the UAV, before that you can have all your try and errors, so you can do it with this system. So UAV Crash is one of the great tool for the upcoming new areas of applications. What everyone, whether it's in armed forces or the urban situation, you wanted to handle it. So it's a good solution for all the users. So with that, I'd like to say that it's we as an organization provide the very comprehensive solutions for the military simulation and training applications, and coupled with our superior technical support, consultancy services, and some of these application development. We are proud to say that we are the partner for this MS&T industry, and we want to continue to be there in the coming years. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Ravi, for that wonderful presentation. Now the chairman is with us, Major General V.M. Chandran, VSM, Major General Doctrine, Headquarters, Army Training Command. Before I hand over to him, let me briefly introduce him. He has commanded an armored regiment, an armored brigade, and lay sub-area. He served as an instructor in the Armored Corps Center and School, and a battalion commander in Indian Military Academy. On staff, he served as AQ of a mountain brigade, Colonel Q of an armored division, DDG Vigilance in Army Headquarters, and Deputy GOC of Headquarters Bengal sub-area. He also served with the UN mission in Congo. Sir, I hand over to you for the other presentations and moderating the session. Thank you.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are.
Very good morning, General Sunil Srivastava, Director St. George, and General Ravi Arora. I guess the Murphy laws comes into play whenever you least expected it, and while we were all prepared for this session, it just went off at the last moment. It's my privilege to be chairing the panel discussion on a very contemporary subject of emerging technologies in military simulators and training. It's a well-established fact that effective military training can be a key difference between success and failure in various military operations. However, there are certain constraints which we face, such as high training costs, decreasing training areas, and field firing ranges, exorbitantly expensive ammunition, fixed and very short operational life of equipment, limited budget, and the time required to move, assemble, and conduct the exercises, to name a very few of them. Also, the COVID-19 pandemic has forced all of us to change the manner in which we conduct our training to a large extent. Accordingly, the Indian Army has been adapting to this new normal in the last 1.5 years, and one critical measure undertaken is to enhance the simulator training. Certain very important steps towards providing the requisite impetus to simulator training in the Indian Army have been taken in the last 2-3 years. A philosophy for simulators in Indian Army was promulgated by the then DGPP in the year 2017, where After that, Headquarter Artrack also issued a concept paper on simulator-based training in the Indian Army last year, in which a quantified model for ascertaining the efficacy of simulator-based training was laid out. I would like to highlight that we in Headquarter Artrack also carried out a study on impact of niche and disruptive technologies of warfare last year, and have identified certain cutting-edge technologies for research and development towards military applications aligned to the global trend in future warfighting technology. Our indigenous capabilities and potential for development of simulators, AR and VR technologies, AI and robotics were the key fields which we identified. In fact, the Defense Ministry has taken a keen interest in simulator-based training, wherein the Defense Secretary chaired a collegiate meeting in March 21 on this subject. And subsequently, a framework for simulators for armed forces, including Coastal Guard, have been promulgated by Headquarter IDS in September 21, which most of you must have already seen. Another field where modeling and simulation has been pursued rigorously is for expediting the design, development, and testing of defense systems. This would assist in immense saving to the exchequer, wherein a model or a simulator could potentially save millions of dollars in procurement costs. The Rashtriya Raksha University, which is there in Gandhinagar, is currently carrying out a study on this project, and the Defense Ministry has been regularly updated on this. We have this SDD, that is the Simulator Development Division at Secunderabad under the aegis of Artrack, which has developed 113 simulators to date, which is a big figure, 113. Some of the major simulators are upgraded infantry weapon training simulators, the sniper, AGL, ATGM, firing simulators, the virtual tactical trainer, the advanced mannequin simulator incorporating VR technology, the CBRN environment training simulator, the VR-based rocket launchers, and the VR-based aircraft recognition simulators. Not only are these simulators being exploited in the Indian Army, the NCC, and the 3 sister services, some of these simulators have been gifted to our friendly foreign countries or are in the process of being given to them, such as Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Myanmar, Vietnam, and Mozambique. I'm also delighted to inform this August gathering that in the field of AI and robotics, the SDD Secunderabad has had major successes in the swarm of drones, exoskeleton, robo-mule, and AI-based legal advice system, to name a few. We have our 3 engineering CAT A establishments undertaking a large number of AI-based projects, which are under various stages of development and validation at field level. It would be pertinent to mention that Headquarter Artrack has expended approximately 250 crore rupees on R&D on various technologies in the current financial year. Having spoken in brief about simulation activities in the Indian Army, I would like to very briefly touch upon the advances being made by China in the field of emerging technology. As per the CIPRI, that is the Harvard Business Research Review, and TRADOC, that is the Training and Doctrine Command in USA, China is leading the world in the field of AI and robotics in terms of technology development and military application. With the pace at which it is developing various technologies, it would achieve its new generation AI development plan much before the laid down target of 2030. Besides, it's already integrating its second and third offset technologies into military capabilities at breakneck speed. Further, China provides that it is giving these technologies to Pakistan is almost a given. Ladies and gentlemen, today's subject of emerging technology has a very wide spectrum. However, we have only touched upon 4 key fields, of which you have heard one of them. and the others are simulators, AR and VR technology, AI and robotics, and the latest policy directives which have been chosen for this talk. We have already heard Mr. Ravi, and I thank Mr. Ravi for this detailed talk on the latest technologies in virtual simulation, which has a major role to play in military simulation. You've given an excellent overview of the end-to-end software solution that your company offers in the field of simulation. I'm sure the armed forces are eyeing to adopt and incorporate many of these in our simulators. Many of our military representatives who are attending this seminar would have taken a note, and I see a much enhanced collaboration with the industry in the near future. The audience is lucky to listen to an industry partner from the company, which is leading engineering and visual simulator solution provider. While we have already heard Ravi, may I now request Group Captain Sanjay Chopra to talk on the latest policy directives on simulators, which has been promulgated by Headquarter IBS. Sanjay, please.
Thank you very much, sir. So I would like to share my presentation on the good morning, sir. I am Group Captain Sanjay Chopra, sir. I am posted to Headquarter IDS as Group Captain Force Structuring, sir. In the next 15 minutes or so, I shall give my presentation on the directive which was issued on the framework for simulators in the armed forces to all the stakeholders as well as the service headquarters. The significance of the simulators is well understood by the armed forces in terms of cost reduction, safety, training in near realistic setting by replicating variable combat scenarios, quicker training, and conserving the critical operational equipment from wear and tear. However, we felt that there is a need to optimize the exploitation of simulators in the armed forces and the Indian Coast Guard. Therefore, sir, this comprehensive framework was formulated.
See the scope slide.
Yes. So the scope for this directive in this presentation I shall cover is the salient aspects and recommendations given in this directive, sir, along with the action plan and the timelines, the guidelines for the implementation and the further way ahead, sir. So the vision of this document was to implement simulation-based training across all military domains and train competent leaders, maintainers, administrators, life science experts, procurement and financial agencies by the year 2025. And thus achieve cost-effective, efficient, safe, fast-paced, and smart training. With this vision in mind, sir, the aim of the directive was to lay down the framework for synergized and enhanced exploitation of simulators by the three services and the Indian Coast Guard. So the goals and the objectives of the directive were to reduce the live equipment utilization by approximately 20% over the next 5 years with enhanced utilization of simulators, sir, as well as to ensure all the equipment systems planned for procurement include requirement of the simulators at the SOG stage itself. Further, to coordinate and factor combined requirements of simulators during procurement and utilization, and to promote services interaction with Indian industry to enhance Indianizations. So the formulation of the directive is as flashed on the screen, sir. We commenced with the prelim paper prepared by ADG Acquisition Tech Air, sir. And thereafter, we took the inputs from services, DRDO, DDP, and suitably incorporated in the directive, sir. And this directive was presented to the Defense Secretary in the month of September and was also promulgated to all the stakeholders, including the service headquarters in the month of September this year, sir. This directive is also hosted on the MOD site. The salient aspects in the directive highlight that the use of simulators in the Army is in the nascent stage and effort to increase the procurement. Use of simulators is across the board in Navy and the Indian Air Force. Simulator being listed as essential training requirement, and all new airborne acquisitions will have that, sir. ICG, Indian Coast Guard, does not have simulators of their own, and therefore they are utilizing Navy and Civil Agency simulators. At present, no spare capacity on the simulation in use with these services. Additionally, the framework encompasses all components of MOD applicable to all types of simulators. It enunciates the vision, objectives, responsibility, implementation goals, and action plan with timelines. Simulator procurement plan, short-term and mid-term for all the three services are already included in the directives. The cost saving as per the directive is 15 to 16% reduction in overall cost of training when the simulator is utilized in the aviation sector, with 80% training on the actual aircraft and 20% training on the simulators. This also includes the list of simulators manufactured, developed by either DPSU and or civil sector included. The recommendations given in the directive are that this directive will be the guiding document for reference by the services for procurement and usage of the simulators. Service headquarters to formulate comprehensive roadmap and issue suitable guidelines. Services to utilize high-end simulators in the civil sector. TPCR to reflect NVSA's procurement plan for simulated by the services and guidance to the industry. DDP and industry long-term partnership with foreign OEM for development and production of simulators and positive international list mechanism may be harnessed. Build, operate and maintain model outsourcing of operation and maintenance. Spare simulator capacity to be offered to civil operators and CAPF as well. The action plan listed in the directive included the action, the core agency, the stakeholders, and the timeline. The day of the promulgation of policy is 10th of September this year. The action is as flash, the stock taking of all the existing simulators in the armed forces and in the civil sector to identify the plausible areas of cross-organization utilization and nominate directed for simulator optimization. This would be us, the core agency, and the stakeholders are as flash. Similarly, the other action plans. These two are initially for D+3, that is 10th of December. For the three PDCs we have for D+6 as mentioned on the slide. Similarly, for D+12, we have the training hour substitution and testing stroke evaluation of crew proficiency using different type of simulators. Simulators installed as per the identified requirement with service headquarter and headquarter IDS. All simulators to graduate upward of FT level 4 and FF level C by in phased manner in total of 10 years. The guidelines for implementation, the HAL, DPSU, and private Indian industries to evolve suitable methodology for development of simulators alongside the main weapon platform, system, and equipment. MSME and civil industry shall be promoted in development, production, and MRO ROH sustenance of simulator for such training systems. TPCR must reflect NVSA's procurement plan for simulators by the services for guidance to the industry. And service headquarter will interact with industry through SIDM, FICI, SOCM, and regularly to ascertain indigenous capability. Strong defense ecosystem, MSME based in India provide the potential for India to be a hub for production, operation, and MRO for simulators for both domestic and global markets. DDP and the industry may get into long-term partnership with an implementable action plan for development and production of simulators. Further, the way ahead, as already covered, the framework has been approved and promulgated to the stakeholders. Action plan for simulators is also implemented. 6-monthly progress review is also instituted. Additional proposals to be examined for inclusion as part of AAP during the review. The first virtual seminar on simulators in armed forces with the Indian industry, coordinated and hosted by SIDL on 27th of August this year in conjunction with the Art Directorate. And a comprehensive case study report has been submitted by SIDM yesterday on the industrial aspects connected to developing indigenous capability to meet the service requirements. Similarly, sir, the simulator procurement plan we have, as already covered, we have two plans, which is for the short term, 1 to 2 years, and mid-term for 2 to 4 years. For all the three services, we have a detailed plan and placed as Annexure 2 in the directive. And as per the current requirements, sir, we have the current procurement at various stages of approximately rupees 4552 crores. Further to conclude, sir, all efforts will be made to achieve maximum proliferation of simulators in the operational, maintenance, and add-on domains of military affairs. Indian development, production, and maintenance industries must be engaged by the services to ensure highest level of Indianization for production, deployment, and maintenance of the military simulators. With this, I have finished. Any questions?
Thank you, Group Captain Sanjay. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, sir.
Thank you very much. We are well aware that you have been instrumental in doing all the spade work for formulation of the framework for simulators for the armed forces. And who else could have been a better speaker on this very relevant topic? It's important to know that along with the development of new technologies, there is always a need to regularly update and recalibrate our policies and guidelines on implementation for the use of technology for our simulators and their subsequent proliferation to the field army. The paper which you have made has been analyzed at Headquarter ARTRAC, and it was realized that the framework covers all aspects of simulator development and proliferation and laid out a well thought out action plan for synergized and enhanced exploitation of simulators. We have at ARTRAC requested for certain recommendations which must have already reached you. To name the important one is that you must include Headquarter ARTRAC and SDD as one of the key stakeholders, and also 515 Army Base Workshop at Bangalore also needs to be listed as one of the manufacturers, as it has been earmarked as an establishment for Indian Army for bulk production of simulators.
We'll do that, sir.
Thank you so much. I now request Brigadier Chaudhary, Commandant SDD, to give us an overview of the various projects that SDD is undertaking. Chaudhary, you are next. Thank you.
Am I audible, sir?
Yes, yes.
Jai Hind and good morning to all ladies and gentlemen. There are some ladies who are in the attendees. I convey my gratitude to General Srivastav, the Director St. Joe's, and the team led by General Ravi Arora for giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts. My Jai Hind to the Chairman, Jan Chandran, the NGGS Doctrine at Headquarter ARTRAC. Before I begin, I would request Mr. Ravi to reconnect with STD because as per him, he was connected, but to the best of my knowledge, he remains disconnected for a long number of years. Point number 2, Colonel Kuber, when he was giving the industry perspective, had a large focus on the foreign accomplishments, as also on the Air Force and the naval developments, and their forte into the field of simulators. His closing remarks were that there is a greed, hunger, and charm in the industry, and STD should not come into the field where the industry exists. During the course of my presentation, I will try and get his faith back into the Indian Army R&D establishment. I will just share my presentation. Right. The subject of coverage given to me is the simulator projects undertaken by STD. I will largely cover the brass tacks of what STD is doing, what is the policy directives on which STD works, and what has it achieved, and where will it go from here. We are a 31-year-old only R&D establishment raised in 1991, primarily for design and development of low-cost simulators. This was in 1991. However, in 2019, this was changed to say, irrespective of the cost of the simulator, STD will develop for the Indian Army. With technological advancements at one end of the fulcrum and macroeconomics on the other, the fine balance necessitated an enhancement of the role and charter of STD. So therefore, besides the continued fundamental role of simulators, and the name still continues as Simulator Development Division, but as covered by General Narayanan and the MGGS doctrine, the widely acknowledged domains of disruption stand incorporated to now include virtual reality, augmented reality solutions, robotic platforms, both ground-based and aerial platforms. We have made huge successful progress in the swarm drone and the artificial intelligence products. So Simulator Development Division for the audience is not restricted to only simulators. The second two bullets are of great relevance. In our march towards increasing the simulator footprints and increased traction to enhance the combat potential and increase the operational poise, we have undertaken a large number of projects for the Indian Army. But we have not restricted ourselves for that last part which is written for the Indian Army. We are making products for the Indian Navy, and as highlighted by the chairman of the session, we have also proliferated products to the friendly foreign countries in the last 1 year. To further get proliferation in the commercialized field, I would like to flag this very important thing, that STD for the first time has filed 21 patents with the Indian Patent Office, with 17 having already been approved. So we are also looking at commercializing in the civil industry the products developed by STD. In a resource-constrained environment, which has been very relevantly brought out by the previous speakers, which is compounded by the lessons learned in COVID pandemic, that the outdoor training has to be compensated by some alternate means. And the narrative is very clear, that we establish the ecosystem to train the armies to be battle-worthy at all times, with minimal cost and realistic training. The disproportionate costly business of training in outdoor training, and to maintain the operational equipment in its battle-worthiness state, necessitates a one-and-all solution, and that is simulators or simulation. But there are very critical challenges which the ground-based simulators, which the Army is facing on this simulator-based training concept. And it was a study done by one of the think tanks, that is the College of Defense Management, in 2017, which identified some of the key areas as the challenges. But the two critical challenges are that the Indian Army user feels that there is a fear of authorization cuts. The moment he adopts and aligns himself to simulators, he feels that his ammunition will get cut, his FOL will get cut, his mileage will get cut. And the second biggest fear is absorption of this state-of-the-art technology. So the earliest we can overcome these two fears, I'm sure the proliferation will take place automatically, which is the focus by the Headquarters Army Training Command. In the last, what you see on this bullet in the end, that fight as you train and train as you fight, is the first statement on this latest policy framework promulgated by the Ministry of Defense, which was just covered by the previous speaker. And the other one, which is the quote from the Bhagavad Gita, is also in one of the policy directives promulgated by the Army Headquarters. In the last 30 years, there are a large number of policies, governing policies and frameworks. I will just cover the salient parts of these couple of policies. It was way back in 1996 that Army Training Command took out a policy saying approach to development and induction of simulators in the Army. What General Narayanan was flagging, it is documented in 1996 that Indian Army should look at simulator training centers to come up as nodal centers. The word now spoken in the 2020 document at Headquarters Army Training Command is talking of this training centers as simulator training hubs. But we need a long way to go on this concept. We are still in very, very infancy stages on developing this. My recommendation is that the way we have developed the war gaming training centers, we can superimpose the simulator training centers so that the war gaming and simulator training centers come up as one single entity to train the field army users. A very important aspect in the two policies, that is 2017, which is the next policy by the DGPP, that is the Perspective Planning Directorate in 2017. Both the 1996 and the 2017 policy talk of one single nodal agency to get all simulators in Indian Army. The top policy talks of the chairman as the Army Commander, Army Training Command. And the 2017 policy talks of the Vice Chief as the chairman of the Apex Committee for getting simulators. The only thing is that these two committees have to take a call what is to be developed in-house and what is to be developed ex-trade. But the study from CDM, which I am referring to, which I will keep referring repeatedly, says, and a conclusion drawn is that these committees need to actually be more vibrant, to be the way the Air Force and the Navy have got single point of contacts for getting their simulators. To give the impetus on excellent philosophy was promulgated by Headquarters RTRAC, the 2020 policy which was just referred by the chairman. It is the simulator-based training philosophy which is talking of a couple of words: scalable, seamless integration, collective domains of live, virtual and constructive training. This word has been used repeatedly. We need to graduate to a LVCIA concept, which is the endeavor of now SDD and wargaming to connect and get this live, virtual, constructive, which is the wargaming concept, to get integrated simulators for the Indian Army. Next. Now, if you look at it, these are the two policies which talk of all simulators to be controlled either by the Army Commander, Army Training Command, or by the Vice Chief of Army Staff. The next policy of RTRAC, the subtle thing which has come up, is it talks of establishment of simulator training hubs, which we had given in 1996 also. And it talks of two important verticals, which the Air Force and the Navy talk of. What is the cost benefit analysis? And what is the optimization factor? The optimization factor is nothing but what is the right balance between live training and simulator training. This document talks of that it has quantified that a tank driving simulator can offset the live training by about 50 to 60%. It talks of an anti-tank guided missile simulator which can offset live training by about 35 to 40%. So the main aim is that the Indian Army should quantify what is the right balance and what should be the optimization factor from any simulator expected to be inducted in the ground forces. This is the CDM study I'm referring to. It was done in 2017, where the directive given was to see the efficacy of simulator-based training in the Indian Army and the way forward. It identified certain challenges. It gave a methodology of a mathematical modeling on how to quantify what each simulator should give. It's a beautiful 10-step model which SDD has implemented in its latest simulator, which are being rolled out for the Indian Army. It also gave a 15-year roadmap for the way forward. And it used very beautiful words called as walk, run, and leap strategy in this 15 years. It talked of 0 to 3rd year, 4th to 10th year, and 11th to 15th year. It spoke of get immediate tangibles, get immediate low-hanging fruits, and then graduate to the higher end of networked solutions. So these are the critical challenges which were identified in 2017. It is great that we have moved ahead. There is a policy which the MOD has taken out, which was just covered. This is the policy which was just spoken of, which is now being coordinated by one single agency, that is the headquarter IDS. The bottom line of this policy is synergized procurement of simulators by Army, Navy, and Air Force. It talks of indigenization, involving all the partners. I would just like to tell that with India as the second highest startup developer after USA, which has got 64,000 startups, India being second with about 8,300 startups, STD connects and has connected with about 40 to 50 startups and MSMEs in its journey. It also talks of this policy that it needs to coordinate the requirements of CAPF, friendly foreign countries, and the civil organizations. It is a great step. And to just highlight that for the first time, the Directorate General of Infantry has taken out a EOI, which is combined for the infantry weapon training simulator of 125 simulators, 66 for the Indian Army. It talks of 32 for the Indian Navy and 27 for the Air Force. So the synergy is already started, and that is what we need to do in getting these simulators across the verticals and break these silos. These goals, the second bullet that I'm highlighting, as of now, there is no convergence. The Indian Army is looking at, largely looking at in-house development. Air Force and Navy are largely looking at make-to-route. So there's a huge cost differential in this document. This document still is devoid of talking of engineering support aspects, which the chairman had adequately highlighted, that the Army-based workshop, which is the TOT partner of the SDD, needs to be incorporated into this document. So, nutshell, the need is well understood for simulators or simulator-based training. The guidelines exist since 20-25 years, but it is the execution which is required with vigorous intent. To give you these little statistics, the Indian Army today holds 3,500 simulators in the ratio of 47% is to 53%. 43% held are in-house, SDD developed, 53% are X-trade. Compare it to the US Army, 250,000 simulators at 400 geographical locations. We need to reach that level if simulator-based training has to take off. We also have certain philosophies and policies taken out on robotics. To get the robotic platforms into the Indian Army, it was given in 2009. We have a policy taken out by Headquarter IDS as a primer for the artificial intelligence for our armed forces, talking of Tri-Services Committee. And we also have the MOD taken out policy, which talks of the apex level AI committee headed by the Raksha Mantri with the 3 service chiefs. To converge all these policies, there is an excellent policy of 2017, which talks of womb-to-tomb engineering support to anything coming in the Indian Army, whether it is X-trade or whether it is X-STD. So this repair policy philosophy is in place. So the part which General Narayanan was flagging, that AMC costs, X-trade are huge. They can be taken care of if they are in-house developed simulators. A couple of slides just to tell you what the study by the CDM did. It asked the question from the respondents, are adequate simulators available for training? 55% replied across the arms and services that adequate simulators for the Indian Army are not available. There were neutral people, agreed were 31%. The second question asked by the study was, does simulator training supplement the live training and enhance the training standards? The excellent view from the arms and services was, yes, the simulator training supplements and complements the live training. The third question which was asked was, should there be change in authorization of ammunition and FOL due to availability of simulators? And this is the word I flagged. There is a fear of authorization cuts. So the user in Indian Army feels, 74% feel that the moment they graduate to simulators, they will get cut in their ammunition or the FOL, which is a wrong perception by the users. And the last question which was asked, have simulators resulted in saving the usage of operationally desired equipment? A large number of population of Indian Army agreed. So these four questions, as a survey studied, very categorically tells us that Indian Army is poised to absorb simulation. The desire is there, the intent is there in terms of policies. It is just aligning the mindsets to get these footprints increased. As was highlighted by the chairman, in the journey of 31 years, STD has made 113 simulators. The VR, AR, AI and robotic platforms are in less numbers because this was started in 2018. But in last couple of years, we have made a large number of progress on these three domains. We have largely touched all arms and services across the board in the Indian Army in making these 113 simulators. A very beautiful statement was there in 1996 policy letter, which I just highlighted as the first policy, which said that Indian Army should allot 5 crores per annum to STD for making simulators in 1996. If you look at the modeling of the budgets which came since 1995, it was in lakhs. It reached maximum up to 1 crore in 18-19. But the quantum jump has come in last 2 years. In 1920, it went to 5.5 crores. 2021, 17 crores. And this year, we are talking of 50 crores in excess for the STD to develop simulators. It is a very confidence-building graph which says that there is not only trust in simulator developing in the field army users, but there is a faith in the in-house development to absorb this technology, which is the need of the hour. I will now cover certain spectrum of simulators which have been developed as my last part of the presentation. What you see in the center part on the top is the legislated types of simulators which the documents which I covered ask STD to cover. So for all arms, it says that we need to make small arms simulators, vehicle driving simulators, navigation simulators, radio telephony simulators, and trauma care simulators. It is with great conviction that I want to inform the audience that we have made 31 variants of firing simulators. These include honing of individual skills, crew skills, the small team operations, the training for close quarter battle, counter-insurgency and counter-terrorist operation trainings, jungle warfare and reflex shooting. We have made 30 variants of driving simulators with or without trailers, with different configurations of instructor versus trainee in terms of 1:1, 1:2, 1:4, with motion platforms, without motion platforms. We have made 4 medical simulators, and these are the ones we are targeting now for the commercialization through our patenting routes to get revenue generation for the Government of India. Now coming specific, we have also been tasked to specifically make simulators for different arms and services. I will not go into details, but what you see in the slide on top, all these have been made, and they have been made and being utilized by the Indian Army. On the top, on the bottom right, you see that we have just made 98.22 rifle simulators for the DGNCC, which was presented by the Honorable Prime Minister on 19th of November at Jhansi to the NCC Directorate. For the mechanized forces, this was our charter. We have made and touched most of these domains in terms of driving simulators, firing simulators. Now there are overlaps. There are definitely overlaps with the industry. Today, somebody was mentioning that Zen Technologies has got these BMP and tank driving simulators. So I would like to tell that in spite of SDD having made these simulators, the Indian Army went to the industry, and it is Zen Technologies which simulators are in the Indian Army use. So there is no bottleneck, or there is no thought process which is against the industry, or telling that it is only trade simulators which will need to come in the or SDD simulators which need to come. We have made some excellent VR-based simulators for the armed forces. We have made decision-making simulators for the mechanized forces and the armored corps. Next. For the Army Air Defense, there is no field that has not been touched by SDD. If you look at it, we have made all types of simulators to facilitate their training on the AD guns and missile systems. We made a beautiful VR aircraft recognition training simulator with the latest Oculus Quest, the headset, which enables the wireless training for 20 trainees at any given time. We have touched the field of AD control and reporting with the radio telephony simulator and the latest low-level lightweight radar system. As far as the artillery is concerned, we have made simulators for not only surveillance, for target acquisition, for training the OPN. We've just finished artificial intelligence-based a video surveillance system. I will talk about it a couple of slides later. We've just made a VR OPN trainer, and it is exactly aligned as a software-based panel, which is to the Project Shakti, which has now got this enhanced tactical trainer amalgamated into the software which is made. We made certain excellent simulators for the engineers in terms of bridging simulators, in terms of CRM training environment simulators, the driving earth moving plant simulators, and we've also touched the fields of minefield. As regards aviation, we have made Hepta simulator. This we have not touched largely into the domain of full flight training simulators or motion simulator. What we have made is to train the pilots on the Heptas in terms of their starting drills, their closing drills, their emergencies, which is one of the words which was highlighted by the naval speaker and the Air Force speaker, that emergency is very important. So we made for the aviation. We have also touched the Army Ordnance Corps in making a VR T90 engine familiarization module for their inventory management. We have made a lot of simulators of driving. I've already touched it. We have made simulators for the engineering support echelon in terms of recovery simulators. We made for the ARBWZ T3, and the medical and trauma care I covered in my first slide. Where are we on the robotic platforms? We have made ground-based simulator for the infantry. It is under trials at the infantry school. We are now attempting the first of its kind to be made in India, which will try and complete in this financial year, an exoskeleton made by very few countries in the world. We're just on the verge of completing a RoboMule, 100 kg structured stroke non-structured loads to be carried in a mountainous terrain. A beautiful concept is being made in a leader-follower, where the RoboMule will follow the soldier. We're also making a mobile autonomous robotic target intelligent navigation system with a mannequin which can take 2,000 bullets It will facilitate with artificial intelligence built into it. As brought out by the chairman, we have already gifted simulators to Bangladesh and Sri Lanka. This was done this year on ex gratis. 5 more countries are lined up. What have we achieved in drone swarming? First time in India, this was showcased as a joint SDD with headquarter ArtTrack, with a development partner, which was a startup ex Bangalore. What I want to highlight here is we got a lot of critiques after this worldwide. And the beautiful critique that we got from the US think tank was that it is the Indian Army which for the first time showcased heterogeneous drones. We showcased 4 different class of drones, and the US Army still talks of homogeneous drones. This was the biggest compliment that could have come from the worldwide to the SDD endeavor. As regards the VR and AR technology forte, these are the certain bouquet of platforms which SDD is developing. We are developing swarm drones for deserts, altitude, for kamikaze strikes, case strikes, fixed wing drones, weaponizing them, putting anti-drone jammers. We made non-GPS denied environment for the para-SF forces being utilized in terms of microcopter on your top bottom left. We've also made a mini copter for precision drop with 1 meter CEP. So there are large developments we have done in the drone platforms. In terms of the VR AR, which is the upcoming field with 150 players, with more than 32 countries involved in this, the growth predicted in India is $7 billion by next year. We had to go for it, and we have gone for it in SDD. The aim is to train soldiers for high-risk scenarios. We have used, just go over the flare. I will just rush through this. We have used 8 different types of headsets, starting from the wired versions to the wireless variants, in making different types of simulators. We have used Samsung, Primax, Oculus, HTC Vive, Microsoft HoloLens. The simulators we just run through. This is a wide variety that we have made in terms of the VR AR. In terms of artificial intelligence, the drone warfare that SDD is developing, all drones are pure autonomous flying platforms with automatic target recognition and DSMAC. This is all AI-based platforms being made. The forte into surveillance, we have just delivered an operationally developed platform where we can get 8 simultaneous feeds from the surveillance, the different surveillance equipment available in the Indian Army. This is being used. This was primarily aimed at reducing the number of personnel manning it in the forward areas. We have just, the way the Indian judicial system is gone digitized, we have just launched a platform which was just flagged to you by the chairman also. We've made a Alexa type variant which converts the speech to text and text to speech. The aim of this AI-based platform is to facilitate the soldier, the ground soldier, to also ask questions and get ready-made answers in terms of the army orders, the army acts, the army rules, which are huge documents to search and find. We have now integrated, for the first time, it is with great pride that I would like to tell, we have now connected with one of the companies, startups, which is close touching to a unicorn. And we are making a VR-based tactical trainer. What you see in the photograph is a holo suit, which SDD is designed with 42 haptic sensors, which today Lockheed Martin has approached the development partner to make it for them. So it is a reverse which is happening in India, that SDD developed product, Lockheed Martin is asking for it. So this is what I wanted to highlight, that we are in sync with the technology worldwide. Next, to conclude, I would like to say that simulators need to be seen primarily as effective tools to enhance training standards, while saving in terms of ammunition and expenditure should be considered as a secondary outcome. Then only these statements which we are making that simulators are still in their infancy stage in the Indian Army, or the simulators are still in their nascent stage, will undergo a transformational shift. And I'm very optimistic that this is what will be the final outcome. It is just a mindset that we need to change. Jai Hind, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Brigadier Sandeep Chaudhary, for such an enlightening talk. You have very aptly highlighted the various policy directives and guidelines by headquarters, from the Army headquarters, RTRAC, and with the main focus of much desired proliferation of simulators in the field army. You have rightly brought out the major challenge in the perception and training of simulators in the field army, primarily on two major accounts, that is the embracing technology and fear of authorization cuts. This will happen in some time to come. I would like to once again reiterate that the SDD has been the forefront of development of state-of-art simulators for various platforms of all corps of Indian Army, and very good. You've done an excellent job. In the last 2-3 years, with its redesigned charter to include niche technology, the SDD has ventured into AI, robotics, AR, VR technologies, in which various versions of drones have been developed, and projects of RoboMule, Holosuit, Exoskeleton would be seeing the light of the day very soon. I'm sure it will be done. SDD is really doing a great job. Thank you. We are open to questions. I don't know if we have the time or not, but we are open to questions from any of the people who are hearing this talk.
Sir, one question has come from Group Captain Narang. Is there any deliberation on procuring simulators for counter-drone systems? And the second part is there any plan to invite private industry or give problem statement in IDEX for developing counter-drone simulators?
This is something which I feel that a lot of industrial partners have been questioning us. I think the information outside has not been going out the way it should be going. Sandeep Chaudhary, I'll request you to take on this and tell them what exactly is happening.
To directly answer this question, there are developments going on in the anti-drone measure field. SDD is a little delinked on this because we are into the development of the swarm drones, but there are other verticals which the chairman of the session had highlighted. There are training establishments like MCME, MCT, and the CME. One of them has been tasked, and it is doing it with one of the industry partners. And it is being very vigorously progressed to get the anti-drone measures into the Indian Army. The query, Parsi.
Any other question?
Not in the chat box or Q&A, sir.
I think one question was, is there any problem statements to tell the industry? There was some question on this.
Yeah, it's part of the same question, and that is there any plan to invite private industry or give problem statement in IDEX for developing counter-drone simulators?
There is all problem statements of the Indian Army are in open domain from the Army Design Bureau, and they are connecting through IDX route for all types of these domains, and counter drones is one of the domains. I would request the person who has raised this query to kindly contact the Army Design Bureau for this. Sir, the fundamental, what he is trying to flag is that there should be a scaling. and there should be a modeling where the induction matches the equipment induction. Now, as far as scaling, in last 2 years, through the headquarter Army Training Command, SDD is only taking on a particular simulator after the line directorate vets the QR and scope of work, and it ab initio gives the scaling of simulator, so that the Army base workshop is also aware what is the loading it will come on to them. For example, we just made Sarvatra bridging simulator. ENC branch has scaled them at 29. We made Cheetah Chetak drive simulator. Aviation Directorate has scaled it at 4. We have made the CBRN simulator. It has been scaled at 17. We made a IGLA firing simulator. AD Directorate has scaled it at 12. So that thought process is there now. It is being implemented in terms of scaling. And that is why we wanted a central agency in terms of sponsors. So the line directorate nowadays sponsor a project and not a unit or a formation or a CATI establishment.
Would there be any more questions? General Ravi Arora, should I?
Yes, sir. I think we have overshot the time.
In that be so, sir, then I think we'll close the question answer session. And all is left for me to say that it's been a privilege to chair this session and has covered a large number of mild simulation issues and we follow the basis of subsequent sessions. The webinar, having experts from all three services, academia and industrial partners, would give us all an opportunity to share and gain from each other's experience and knowledge, discuss problem statements and find solutions to some of them. I'm quite convinced that the session has been very informative for all of us, and we have gained a lot from the thought-provoking presentation. I thank all the panelists for giving us their perspectives on the topics assigned and enriching our knowledge in field of emerging technology. I'm quite sanguine that this session would be a harbinger for collaborative and effective solutions for the field army. Finally, I would congratulate St. George for organizing this webinar on a very contemporary topic of military simulators and training, and inviting me and my co-panelists for taking on this session. Thank you very much.
General Chandran, thank you so much. In fact, good to be seeing you after a long time. And I compliment all the eminent panelists for very useful presentations. Very nice presentation. The kind of information shared, I think, is going to be will benefit everyone.